You know what? There are a lot of great moments. You know, you try to put yourself in positions to win the games. I felt like at Colorado, up 7 with 5 minutes to go, we got to execute better. Our defense broke down, but we put ourselves in position. And we got to close better. And then at Utah, this team's so resilient. Like we never down 11, things aren't going well. Then we go up 15. A couple breakdowns at the end for threes. And these are really good teams on the road. So to sustain the level that we have to play in, we got to do better on the defensive end, and we got to finish with rebounding. That's just what it is. You got to get stops and rebound. Obviously, you can depend on that scoring. You miss shot, make a shot. What you can't let it do is affect the other end. And we scored enough points to win both games, but we didn't make the plays down the stretch to win the games.
Talk to me a little bit about the guard combination when you've got Nate and Corn together.
We after the Colorado game, we wanted, the staff, we all decided, hey, listen, let's see if we can get 9 guys in there. We played. I thought the Utah game, Nate Calmes came in, just gives you a really high IQ player, can really shoot it, and they did really good. They're dynamic, they're fast. Now we got to keep working with the consistency defensively. We know KJ is he's a disruptor, he can do that, but he has to be more disciplined in certain situations, and so that's part of it. So you have a really good offensive team, and you have some guys that are really good defensively, and so how do we mix and match that? But those guys are great young players, and they impacted the game for the most part.
So improving defensively would be the way for Nate to get more minutes.
No question. These last couple games, they went on a 13-2 run at Colorado, and the second half against Utah, it wasn't scoring. We scored 90. We got to get stops. And then without the size of Frank and Braxton being out, we got to be able to rebound. And we played Lampkin's probably the biggest guy in the league, and then we played against, Utah, who's, the tallest and longest defense or team in the country. So, those are things that, they had, no question, has to defend.
Maybe a stupid question.
No.
When it comes to Nate and playing defense, is that more of an effort thing or more of a talent thing?
I think it's listen, we've turned to man, so it's part of where our it's, people thought when we first started the zone in our first year, we had Matisse Thybulle. Well, we did. He was pretty unbelievable. But the first 13 games of the year, we were awful defensively. Teams were shooting. They were scoring 78 points a game. Our numbers were whatever, but we kept doing it. We didn't change. We kept doing it, and then guess what happened? We got into the league. We knew, we learned it. We were doing it, and then we were really good the next year because it's part of what you do in your program. And so this is still a new transition in terms of defensively with our guys. And so, Nate, it's not a lack of effort. Nate, it just goes back to building those habits.
In these past 3 games, just what's going on with Sock? Because it seems as if his shooting, decision making just hasn't been there like it was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, he's just, sometimes, we talked about it. We want him to be the most confident guy because he, first half of the Colorado game, it looked like, he just was just doing this, and guys are getting wide open shots. We just couldn't make them. We were missing some layups and those types of things. That happens. Where I keep talking to him about, which I love him, is the leadership part of it and the defensive end of part of it. You can't allow missing shots and bad offense to impact your defense. You just can't. And, that's a way. And then on top of that, the staff, we have to do a better job of, we play with a very fast tempo. And at the end of games, we have to be able to, we have to be able to control the clock while not losing the flow of how fast you're playing. And that's part of the learning process too. So sometimes you got to, you're in 6th, you're going, you're in a Ferrari, and then at some point, there's going to be times where you're going to have to do what? Downshift, get here. And I felt that's where I think where we got to get better.
How close is Frank to coming back, and what's the kind of key for Braxton to maybe
I think Frank could play. It's going to be how he feels. There's no more whatever for injury. Like you know, the guy does everything he's supposed to do. It's going to be back to when he feels good. Personally, Braxton has won a lot of games for us. He was all defensive team, but it was in a zone. That's why you see a little bit more zone because you know he knows it. He's at the rim, but building his confidence. You know, he's had big games. He's made big defensive plays. He's made foul shots. He's helped win games here. And, you know, I thought there's been some, you know, Utah, the fouls, he's got to defend without fouling. To even even for us to have the option to put him in. Seattle U, he didn't play all the way, and then they were killing us on the glass. We put him in the last 2 minutes, and he did what? He changed the game. Got a block, rebounded everything. Because you know when you're small, it's hard to fight big guys. It's hard to wrestle big guys. But we believe in Braxton. The team does, and he'll just got to keep coaching them up.
Can you talk about the level of play you're seeing from Wilhelm both on the court and in practice these past few weeks for Wilhelm?
Oh gosh, you know, talk about he's just all about winning. He's as competitive a guy as there is. He's a confident shooter. I think we got to utilize that a little bit more. You know, where you pull a 5-man away from the basket, so it opens it up for everybody else. But he is, you know, he just wants to win. Has a very high IQ. Not the most athletic guy on the planet, but he fights and he tries to execute everything that you ask him to do. He's got great learnability. Like you can teach him on the fly to make an adjustment, and he can do it right away. Some guys can, and some guys can't. But you got to meet them where they're at, and that's kind of we dealt with it a little bit last year with Frank. Like we were playing some man and stuff like that, but you have to adapt based on where your personnel can be really good. That's what we're dealing with.
Do you think you guys have a defensive leader? You know, like somebody who would say at this point, all right. Smack the floor.
I think Frank was that defensive leader. He brought. I mean, just think about the Xavier game. Think about Zag's game. Think about some of the plays that he makes. So that's a loss, but that's where other guys have to step up. We've got good leadership from the upperclassmen, but they have to like you know, Paulie, Saw, KB, and Holland. But man, we got to get a stop, and it can't just be talk. Like it has to. You got to get gritty. You know, there was a stat our staff we gave to the team yesterday. The top 10 teams in the country, they're 4-10 on the road versus top 100 teams. We just had positions to win against 2 teams that are in the top 25. So we are there. We just got to get fit. How do we finish? We put ourselves, all you're trying to do is, we've had success at Colorado. How do you put yourself, we got to get over that hump. That's a big thing. And we will.
Hey, so obviously you guys ask a lot from KB, you know, in terms of scoring. Is it too much to ask, you know, for him to, all right, now you also kind of have to be that defensive guy to shut down the other team?
I think so. We got in trouble there too because he had 4 fouls, and so, you know, Carlson was getting too deep in the post, and then we couldn't stop him. You have to pick your poison. If you double them, then you're having 3. You got, you know, we did a good job on Gabe Madsen, but there has to be more resistance than we just had, and there was a lot of breakdowns that was miscommunication that we've just got to be better.
A couple tough losses on the road. I think the team probably knows they're better than this. What's the mentality and attitude of the locker room right now? They're fired up to respond. This team's responded all year. And, you know, like I said, you know, the top 10 teams in the country are 4-10 on the road versus top 100 teams. It's very hard to win on the road. So obviously we felt like we put on position. We felt like we let one slip through our grip. They know what they can do. And we just got to be able to go out and execute that at the end. Stay locked in if our shots aren't falling. Think about Gonzaga. It wasn't like we got defensive stops, we rebounded, they fouled us on hustle plays, we went to the foul line and made it.
Frank Block, Corin Johnson staying in front of Andrew Nem. Like Xavier was one of our worst offensive games of the year. We kept fighting. We got defensive plays. I think they scored, I think the last 24 points, Brandon Carlson scored 21. Like we just, you know, he became the best player in the gym. Contested threes in the post. That's why they're a top 20 team in the net.
I think I asked you after that game, you know, thoughts on double teaming him. You know, that's something that really college teams don't really do much. But you know, would you?
They did it against Washington State. We had watched it on film, and Carlson's 7 feet, and so when the double team's coming, and that's your, you know, you're gonna take, you know, that's your pick your poison. You know, it goes back to what are you gonna not? What are you gonna try to take away? What are you gonna give up? Because you can't take away everything.
What makes Oregon difficult to defend?
Well, they're, you know, Dana Altman's unbelievable coach, and he's had a lot of unfortunate injuries. But, you know, Shellstad is playing as good as any guard, and we saw what KJ Simpson did. You know, Shellstad's as good as any guard right now in our league. And so he's playing at a very high confidence. Being a freshman reminds me of Peyton Pritchard in a lot of ways. He's got confidence. They know he has to step up. He's really good. Quiznard had 25 against us last year. He's playing really well. You know, Rigsby's had big games. Kwame Evans is another freshman who was a McDonald's All-American, 6'10", who gives you like the same Brandon Carlson. He can step away and do what? He can shoot it. And so, you know, the challenge is they're going to mix up their defenses. They 1-1-2-2. They get into the zone, and so they try to disrupt that way. We got to keep it simple. We got to get organized, and you know, and figure out how we're, you know, we know how we're going to attack. I'm not going to tell you guys, but we got to be able to do that. And then on the defensive end, it goes back to, can we, you know, execute our game plan, and then can we finish with rebounding?
With Paul, it just seemed like before the hand injury, he could be the thing that makes this team a whole different level better. With that injury, is that something that will heal during the year, or?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kim. We were talking about it yesterday because he was even having trouble grabbing the ball and doing that. He says it feels a lot better. He feels like, you know, tomorrow, you know, you're just getting more and more confident with it. It's not getting worse is what you're asking, right?
Does it get better?
It's getting better for him, and so that's a good thing. I asked the trainers, I said, is this the same as me? Because this hurts. I have a hard time. They allow me to take this out, take a shower, and I grab a bar of soap. I can't, you know, I'm like, I couldn't imagine what is he playing with the same thing? And he said, no, completely different. You know, he'll get through it. He'll have the soreness and the pain, but it will get better. It's not going to re-injure. So.
With yours, is it broken?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you actually sort of broke it?
Yeah, I broke it. Yeah.
A lot of force came down.
You know what? I think it was more technique. You know, not force. I don't. You know, I think it was more technical.
Oh no, I think it just built.
It was like.
This is a previous
I think there's you know, like the built-in adrenaline. But yeah.
Syracuse played Oregon the best all season. You're familiar, but a little different coaching staff. Have you seen what they did well against that Ducks team, and anything you can look to?
You know what? Yeah, a lot. You know, like listen, when we play really tough, and that goes back on the offensive defensive end, attacking rather than settling, getting the basket, defensively, you know, being gritty on the glass. I mean, some of the rebounding that we had, which we've proven it now, it just becomes consistency. You know, Oregon's a really good basketball team, and they're playing without, you know, two of their big starters. So they're going to try to be more disruptive, change up defensively, try to get steals. They're averaging over 9 steals a game. So attacking their pressure, and when you're more organized and you know exactly how you want to attack, now it's decision making. You got to eliminate your turnovers, get back in transition to have to play against our half court, and then hopefully get them to take a tough 2 and rebound, and then we're really good when we're in transition.
Anything you remember from that big win last year? OT,
last.
You know what? It was a great game. Down 5, 3 minutes to go. Keon Minifield had just got, he went really good. But we made some great defensive plays. Corin Johnson blocked the shot on Will Richardson in the overtime. We had a shot to win the game in regulation, but to fight back and put ourselves. Keon Brooks had a great block, and we did it. It was defense. Your best offense is really good defense.
And that snap, when you guys lost a few in a row, right?
I don't remember that, but actually, that's the only thing that you always remember as a coach. Hopefully, you see the good thing.
So if we would have had a webcam on you on Monday night, the last minute of the football game, what would it have looked like?
I was so mad because I think it's an awful rule when one of our players, again, I don't tend to know, but I know, like, the game's over. I don't know. If rules committee, change that rule. This is how you were, in the game. Like, come on, like, how does that happen? When you're playing at the level that they're playing, like both teams, like these guys, you watch the NFL, these guys scoring 17 seconds, like it's in college in first downs, it stops the clock. I mean, it's like, so those seconds are just, because the coaches, our team was so awesome in managing that game. And what a great, just like so inspirational, for everybody. It's like and then to hear their interviews at the end and seeing how cool and humble Coach DeBoer is and the team, how they talk about each other. It was a great lesson for every sport program. Is championship talk is always talking about the guy next to you. So that was very inspiring.
Any last one?
You're about almost halfway through the season. Any decision on Wesley at this point?
Same thing. He's it's like the Frank situation. They've got to feel good about, there's nothing that can get more in you. He has to feel good and confident about himself going out and playing. I told him, I said, make sure you're 110%. Don't be 96%. Don't be 98. Don't be 105. Be 110. And so that's, he does a little bit more every day. He's really taking care of his foot. The staff, Pat Jenkins and Dr. Dresner and Dr. Kwan are unbelievable. He's got the best doctors on the planet watching over him. He does some 5-on-0 stuff, gets some shots, stays in shape. He's done a good job with his body, and we're waiting just like you. But he could, he could play tomorrow. So.
Does like the old math work? With rules and eligibility. Like halfway through the season, is it worth it, or is it different nowadays because?
I think he wants to play regardless. I just think it goes back to, can he impact this team? And, let's go through a couple practices where he can play full and see where we're at. But the most important thing is that he feels good. Not, no one's in his body other than him, and he has to feel great about that. Even if the doctors say it's 100% healed and this and that, you still are the one that has to go and do it. And so I respect that. I love that. And, he's a heck of a talent. I tell him every day, man, I can't wait for you to walk on that court. He's so talented. But I have also sad news. We found out about, an hour ago that one of our old GAs who was, anybody who knows him, his name's Tad Andrews. Tad was a beacon of a shining light. Like if you never, he was always positive. He was always energetic. I had met him through USA Basketball, and he was the guy that all the players loved. They would, during the COVID, he's out there. He was working with the NBA, passing to LeBron and all these videos. He was an unbelievable person to my son when he was a GA here. There was no job that he wouldn't do. Thought he was going to be a great coach one day. And he was coaching a junior college in Kansas. And he's not here anymore. And so, you know, our hearts go out to him and his family, and, you know, it puts everything in perspective. You know, you got to live life and do it for something greater than yourself. He was a guy who just gave himself. You know, our thoughts or prayers are with his family, and just a sad, sad day for our program and his, you know, his family. So, you know, pretty hard stuff. But anyway, sorry to, but.
Thank you for sharing, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you guys.